Hello, everyone. Welcome back to day 16 of the Regeneration Marathon. Today, we're diving into the new series properly with the Ninth Doctor adventure, Bad Wolf and Parting of the Ways. Once again, I am joined with Luke.
Yes, it's been a bit of an interesting road, hasn't it? Because with Moffat introducing us to the War Doctor and also giving us Paul McGann's regeneration in a minisode for the 50th anniversary, things got a bit thrown around in terms of timeline order here. But now we're diving into 2005 with the first new series Doctor, Christopher Eccleston, and I think our first Doctor as well. We're sort of
Yes.
getting into the nostalgia territory for us now for these
Yeah.
next few days.
This is very much our Doctor Who, as it
Mm,
were.
yeah, it's
So,
what we grew up on.
so there are, pun intended, rose-tinted glasses probably on the next couple of episodes.
Yeah, I think it'll definitely show. But also, I think there is a lot of quality to be found here too. It's
Yes.
not just us remembering things fondly and ignoring the flaws. There
Yeah.
is genuinely some great stories to be found in this era.
Yeah, this is very much the for one day only Eccleston special. So here's us gushing about Christopher Eccleston for however long this goes on for.
Yeah, because he doesn't have a post-generation story in any media currently, I believe.
Yeah.
Certainly, Big Finish haven't touched that yet, and that's mostly where our
Give them
extended
time.
media knowledge lies. Yeah, I'm sure they'll get to something along those lines eventually. I don't know if it's
Yes.
something Ecclestone herself would be interested in though. So we might end up with Nick Briggs doing a Doctor Chronicle
Yeah, or maybe a
again.
short trip or something silly. Yeah.
Yeah, because certainly quite a few of the short trips so far have very much been filling in those gaps in rows, haven't they?
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
been the Clive's Shed box
The
set.
Daniels family type. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Krakatoa. All
Yeah.
those little mysteries filled in.
Yeah.
But yeah, what are your memories of the Ninth Doctor growing up?
It's funny. I have such vivid memories of series one compared to series two.
Oh, really?
Like I can remember exactly what I was doing the day series one episodes aired, whereas I can't do it for the year after, which I find mental.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, series one, it's so special because it was the first series I got into it. I became so attached to Eccleston's Doctor, and this is what made this episode hit really hard because I didn't know what regeneration was. So this was a big moment for me because I lost to a big silly northern guy.
Oh, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, had you not seen any Pertwee before this then, or
I'd
anything
seen
like?
like confidential episodes and I was aware there were other doctors, but regeneration didn't really come across. And I think this is the beauty of series one is that it lays down everything about Doctor Who in 13 weeks.
Yeah, it does. It does that very well. I mean, as a child, I think as well, your view of the world is very different, isn't it? And so
Yes.
is your
And
view of
time.
yeah, and so is your view of things like regeneration, perhaps, where you could see it like it's not an in-universe thing. It's a bit like James Bond, where the actor just
Yeah.
gets replaced, and that's sort of how I saw, funnily enough, with what was it when I first watched Frontier in Space, and my dad was like, "Well, this is the Doctor," and I was like, "Oh, and is this Rose? No, that's Joe, you idiot." You know,
Yeah.
sort of that point of
Yeah.
view
Yeah.
where you
Yeah.
think it's not necessarily, especially when they're both blonde girls, easy to get confused.
All right, Linda Vawai.
Yeah, the Ninth Doctor's got a thing,
Yeah, oh, he certainly has.
or too much a type there.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely not a showing the type there.
but yeah, it's funny, isn't it, how different you view things, and also just with classic Who when you're that young, it feels so big but so small at the same time
Yeah.
because it feels like there's so many stories. But at the same time, you don't necessarily see that gap in time from 63 to 89.
No, no, no.
It all just feels like the same show for a lot of it. Whereas now, partly because we know a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, we know different producers and writers, script editors, and such. We see the different styles of the show, and just how TV in general changed in that time. But when you're younger, it's a different world.
Yeah, but it's weird that series one now is technically classic
Yeah, that's
because
true.
that
It's
much time has passed. It's kind of scary. Going, no, it's not that. Look, it's only a couple of years ago. Don't be silly.
no, 17 years have gone past since this aired now, isn't it? Which is
Oh no. Ooh.
yeah. I mean, that's longer than the hiatus, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Which is crazy to think about. I mean, I think a fun fact about Chris Eccleston and Big Finish, there was actually a bigger gap between him stopping being a doctor and coming on to Big Finish than there was for Sylvester, McCoy, Colin Baker, and I'm pretty sure Peter Davison as well.
Yeah, probably.
I'm
Yeah.
not. Yeah. I mean, Peter Davison, it would have been 84 to 99.
Or would you class Dimensions in Time? Does that count?
Didn't we have this discussion last week?
Yeah. Well, last.
Like whenever we last recorded.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
We've
never
discussed
mind.
Dimensions in Time, whether or not that counts for
Yeah,
trivia and such.
Yeah.
But yeah,
yeah.
certainly that throws a bit of a curveball into some facts once in a while, doesn't it?
Just thought I'd give it the appreciation it deserves.
Yeah. But yeah, very much, Chris Eccleston was my doctor growing up. Like,
Yeah.
even though I spent, obviously, like everyone did, spent more time with Tennant around that time. And, almost maybe as a response to so many people loving Tennant, I was sort of like more entrenched with Eccleston, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's not much to love.
Yeah.
Because it's only recently Eccleston's Doctor's been expanded on, really, with like Big Finish, Time Lord Victorious. Because like in terms of expanded media, Eccleston had like the one comic, graphic novel collection, a couple of books,
Yeah,
and that was
6 books. Total.
yeah, and obviously the 13 episodes. So there's not that much to go about. So whatever Ninth Doctor content you got, you really savoured it. Like when Titan did their comic series, it was like a big thing because like, oh my god, it's new Eccleston. Well, Ninth Doctor.
Yeah, and I mean, certainly when you're younger as well, and there were just those 13 episodes, you almost sort of resent Tennant for getting more, I suppose.
Yeah, and I
It's
think
like
this
you want Eccleston to have had that second series.
But then again, I think that would that diminish the specialness of Series 1 if he carried on?
Yeah, that's true.
Because I
He
think
does
that's
very much.
what makes Series 1 so special, because it's so perfect.
He has a
Spoilers to the
complete
review.
arc from start to finish, doesn't he?
Yeah. So it just makes it. It's kind of like the life of a butterfly. You see it in the span of the 13 weeks. I think that's it makes it even beautiful, really.
I mean, in terms of introducing a new generation to Regeneration, it sort of works to have it be a Doctor who has only been there for that short time.
Yeah.
I think you'd have even stronger imposter syndrome if, say, Eccleston had done 3 or 4 years, and then you got David Tennant or whoever coming along.
I mean, I already had that 13 weeks, so without me,
you get too entrenched in it. I think it's a good way to introduce new fans and children alike to the nature of the show, isn't it? To say that this is something that's going to happen every once in a while. You're going to get a new lead actor, but it'll still be the same man. And I think the fact that we got Rose there for that transition helps with that, helps that she's the audience viewpoint for that, to see that they are the same man at the end of Christmas Invasion. Skipping forward a bit there, that's tomorrow's topic. But yeah, certainly Eccleston, what a Doctor.
Love him.
You got to love the no-nonsense character, haven't you?
But there's a lovely funness to him as well.
I think maybe that's the other thing that sometimes people forget. People love Tennant because he's so fun, and then you're just there like, but Eccleston was a lot of fun too. I suppose it's different types of humour as well for different people.
I think Eccleston's got the Tom thing in the sense he's got this sort of sad clown nature to him, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
He's all happy-go-lucky, but there's something underneath that's quite sad about him, really.
I mean, in his case, with the Time War, there was also that darkness there as well.
Yeah.
Which they really got to explore in a way they hadn't with a Doctor before.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose closest is perhaps McCoy.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, so we had 11 weeks of Eccleston journeying in the TARDIS. He met new friends along the way. He made some enemies along the way too. And then it all came up to this finale. There was a little word throughout series one, or two little words, sorry, throughout series one that kept recurring. And it's amazing how that sort of constitutes an arc, really.
It's such a well done arc, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, I think it's one. I think that and like the Crack is the best arcs of the new series, I'd say.
But it's such a simple thing because it doesn't really change the nature of any stories in the way that the Crack later would.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily what you'd see as an arc now. It's much more the characters that have their arcs and their journey. And just the way different stories feed into each other. Like this story in particular, you've got moments from Father's Day paying off here. You've obviously got the long game coming into play a lot more here.
So you get a whole sort of recap, don't you, at the start of Bad Wolf of the long game?
Yeah, it's not your usual recap either. It's not like a previously segment. It's like quite a calm little, this is what happened 100 years ago. And then boom.
And it's all the Doctor's fault.
Yeah. It almost spoils the twist later though, doesn't it? Because you've got that dramatic moment of, hang on, this is Satellite 5. It's like, yeah, we knew that. We saw the previously. Well, I suppose it's there for those who aren't watching week to week necessarily. The working title for this episode was Game Show World, but when it was announced, it was called The Parting of the Ways Part 1, and then Parting of the Ways itself was obviously called Part 2. It wasn't until a little bit later, presumably part of the way into the series, when people had started noticing Bad Wolf was this recurring arc words, that it was revealed that it was actually called Bad Wolf. So that's a little bit interesting. And so it was the last Series 1 title to be announced. I remember they did something similar with Stolen Earth as well.
I can remember that, but I can't quite remember what they said.
Yeah. I mean, I'm suppose that Last of the Time Lords too, because that's a bit of a spoilery title. So maybe that wasn't revealed until a bit later. Although, to be fair, it doesn't necessarily refer to two Time Lords there.
I don't think it was revealed that it was a three-parter, was it?
No, I think certainly you went into Utopia expecting a one-parter, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, which, well, getting a bit distracted now.
Yeah.
Doctor, not Tennant.
Yeah.
Yeah,
plenty of
good.
Tennant. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what trivia do you have for us?
That they managed to get Channel 4's actual blessing for it, really, because it's surprising how much Big Brother we got music playing throughout it.
Yeah, that's true, isn't it?
So I guess
they go full on with it, don't they?
I guess because Russell did a lot of work for Channel 4, they were like, "Oh, go on then."
And I mean, continue to do so.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, with like It's a Sin. Yeah.
And if anything, he's sort of, I suppose that's sort of where his home is in many ways, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, so where that he sort of bounces between that and the BBC. I don't know if he's done much for ITV.
I think he's got something coming up for the ITV.
Oh, yeah, wasn't that the last thing he worked on before Doctor Who?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I suppose the Doctor claims that he is known in Dalek legend as the Oncoming Storm, which is actually from Paul Cornell's novel Love and War.
Oh.
Although there it was apparently what the Draconians called him. But nevertheless, that is taken from there, which is interesting. And I think it sort of suits the Seventh Doctor as well, doesn't it?
It does,
especially given what he did to Skaro. And at the end of Parting of the Ways, Russell revealed that he decided to leave Jack behind because he very much wanted to explore regeneration from Rose's point of view, whereas Jack would very much have taken it in his stride. Which is what we sort of get to see a bit of when it comes to Soul and Earth. Like, he's fully prepared for it, isn't he?
Yeah.
Although gets the same Doctor back anyway.
Because I think Russell wanted to keep this as a surprise regeneration, but I think it was the week of Unquiet Dead Ed that it leaked. Well, not leaked, but it had to say that Eccleston was leaving.
Yeah, it was, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, certainly there's some behind the scenes drama there, perhaps. Well, not perhaps, we know there is, but we don't quite know as much as we do when it comes to like classic Who stuff.
I give it time. I think each year we get more and more of it.
Yeah. I think certainly Eccleston himself has said quite a bit about it, and that he then got blacklisted by the BBC, sadly. But yeah, it seems like... I think there was a story about a flaming sofa on the set of Rose, wasn't there?
I don't know.
Something to do with that. Yeah, it all seems pretty mad. Yeah, and now certainly with other events that have happened since in recent years, it does paint a less and less positive light on this time. And it's sort of, but nevertheless, we sort of look back on it with that nostalgia because it is our childhoods.
Yeah.
I know.
The Ninth Doctor's hologram speech, "Have a good life," is quoted in A Song for 10.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, that a bit of trivia for tomorrow as well, but that then calls on to Doomsday, doesn't it, in the end?
Yeah, it does.
There's lines about, I can't quite remember the exact lines, but it's about being separated, isn't it? And it very much foreshadows the fate of Rose and the Doctor being on different worlds. Such a good song. We'll talk about that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose. Shall we just talk about this story now?
Yeah, let's dive in.
Yeah, I suppose in terms of trivia with new series stuff, there's not quite as much that's known to us. It's a different kettle of fish in some ways compared to classic Who trivia.
Yeah, I think for us it's more like, oh, what were you doing when this aired, or like, what are your memories of this?
Yeah, that's true.
Which I think adds another level to this series.
Yeah, it makes it a bit more personal.
Yeah.
We're getting into more personal touch now, really.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always something personal with us on Doctor Who, though. Like, it's more than a show, really, to us, isn't there? And there is a strong level of attachment there. But there's a particular level of attachment when it is, your childhood memories of it.
Yes, for sure.
I mean, what are your earliest childhood memories, actually, of Doctor Who? That's before we dive in.
I would say it would have to be Tomb of the Cybermen.
Ah, really?
For Doctor Who night, seeing like a Cyberman come out of its tomb, and that was kind of creepy. And I remember seeing Spearhead, bits of that, and Rose, to be honest. So my earliest memories of it, to be honest.
My earliest memory would be the Dalek rising up and destroying itself in Dalek.
Ah.
Because I didn't actually watch Series 1 live, or not all of Series 1 live. I honestly cannot remember too much.
You're a fake Series 1 fan.
Yeah, I got on the bandwagon a bit late, because my first watching was through the DVDs. Like Series 1, Volumes 1 to 4 was my first viewing experience of a lot of it.
I mean, this is a nice bit of trivia. Just to link with the DVD. Series 1, Volume 2 came out the week of Bad Wolf Parting of the Ways, and that volume contains Dalek.
No.
So it was a clever bit of marketing.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly I think my mum and dad wanted me to watch Doctor Who with them.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, I'm not interested. I'm going to go off and do this instead at the time or whatever. And then obviously came in on Dalek, caught the end of that, and I was like, I want to watch this now. And so that's sort of where it began, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, certainly. I do remember that my first viewing of a lot of Eccleston episodes was on those DVDs. And I also remember, because, again, childhood memory or childhood mind, you're not necessarily viewing the world in the same way as it is. I was sort of thinking, oh, is this the... when watching Bad Wolf Parting of the Ways, I was thinking, is this that Time War that they mentioned that then the Dalek turns up in later? But no, that's obviously before this. Yeah. But yeah, it's fun. I mean, that's a great way to reintroduce the Daleks as well, isn't it? Series 1, love here. Having a single one halfway through the series, and then boom, you're confronted with a whole army of them. And that sets up the threat so well for this story.
This is what I love about Series 1. Is the meta-textual nature of it. It goes over you as a kid, but with Series 1 in particular, especially Bad Wolf and Parting of the Ways, there's beautiful sort of references to like if this show doesn't succeed, like the speech about have a good life, leave the box, and it would just become a thing of a bygone era.
Yeah.
Like that's Russell going. That was Russell writing, going, "Well, I've tried. It was nice." Much like Van Statten's museum, it's like you have the Doctor and a Dalek in a museum. That's what Doctor Who is really, and then you have Roderick in this end. The Daleks died out centuries ago, and that's basically the Daleks have come back to our generation now. That makes sense.
It was like a third wave of Dalek mania, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The RTD era. And I don't think it's ever caught on again since. Really.
No, I don't think they've had that same stamp.
No. Because you sort of had the initial 60s run when they were first introduced and the films and such, then it sort of died down again. You've got like a revival in the Pertwee years, don't you? I think Dalek Mania became big again.
Because the Dalek annuals became a thing, I think.
Yeah, then it wasn't really until Doctor Who came back in 2005 and the Daleks coming with it in that first year that they really made their mark, and sort of that built up to Journey's End, I'd say, and then it sort of petered off after that.
Yeah, I'd say so. Because like every year you had a new Dalek toy. This 2005 you had your bronze Dalek, then 2006 Dalek Sec, then 2007 you had the big 18-inch Dalek come out.
I suppose you also had like damaged Daleks as well.
Yeah, so it was everywhere. Dalek cakes, you name it, we probably bought it. Dalek cookies, yeah, we had it all.
I think you had some of those. Well, I say recently, it's a couple of years back on the channel now, but there's a little plug for an old video.
There's a plug.
You tried the old Dalek cookies,
which don't taste good after 11 years.
Who would have thought it?
Who would have thought it? Shock horror.
Stuff of nightmares reduced to an item in a cupboard.
Literally, yeah.
I mean, I'm sure the taste of those caused a few more nightmares after that.
Yeah, it definitely caused the oncoming storm in the toilet.
Oh dear. Moving swiftly on from that, we have here the synopsis now for Bad Wolf, first of this two-parter. And so we kick off, like we said earlier, with the 100 years earlier previously bit as it recaps the long game, before we are then thrown in with the Doctor in a little cupboard, really, aren't we? He's a bit discombobulated, tumbles out like he's just come in from a night out, and is greeted by Linda with a Y, who tells her that, he's been chosen. He's one of the housemates. He's in the house. And certainly the other housemates aren't too happy about this. They've got the eviction coming up, and he's quickly bundled into another little cupboard to give his life story in which he is told not to swear. And I mean, that's a pretty fun way to start the episode, isn't it? It certainly throws you right in the deep ends. And then you cut to the opening titles, really. After that, you've got Rose waking up on her own as well. Separated from the Jack and the Doctor at least. She is greeted instead by Roderick, who takes her over to the weakest link section of the game station, where she is greeted by the android. And
what a good pun that is.
That is brilliant, isn't it?
Oh yes, it's very clever.
I suppose, did you know much of Weakest Link before you watched this episode, or was this like your introduction as such to the show?
I think you're culturally aware of it.
Yeah,
because like it was always on when like my mum was cooking the tea. And like likewise a Big Brother, because it was like that. It was that go-to new shiny show, wasn't it? I guess.
Yeah, I'm not so sure if I was aware of it enough to get the pun.
Yeah.
So.
Like Trillian and Susanna seem like the outlier and of the three. And I think that's probably the one that's dated the most out of the three shows in this one. Yeah,
certainly. I suppose maybe because it's more adult show as well. Perhaps.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, but I think the genius of it is that it still works without the cultural references.
Yes.
Like, for all you know, these could just be made up shows parodying something else, and it still works. It's just like that little bit of extra on top, isn't it? That they
Yes.
are real shows repurposed for Doctor Who. Goodness knows how many years into the future. Is it year 5 billion?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So certainly a long way. It's very much a throwback. Even the clothes are,
Mm.
mid 2000s clothing. But yeah, I suppose it makes sense that eventually that would come back around. But
Yeah.
I suppose that far on, it'd be like us wearing caveman,
Yeah.
caveman style coming back around.
True. True.
Yeah, but who knows? We're not here to criticize the in-universe logic of this.
No.
We're here to enjoy some games with a deadly twist. Because if you are evicted, if you get voted out on the weakest link, you're toast. It seems you get zapped away to nothing. Or is it a fate worse than that? We'll have to see. But yeah, the Doctor eventually breaks out of the Big Brother house alongside Linda with a Y, a new friend he's met. He sort of like tricks it at first, doesn't he? He breaks
Yeah.
some equipment and tries to get himself evicted and killed. But he knows that whoever brought him here wants him here for a reason. If they could, get the teleportation beam into the TARDIS, then they could have just killed him there and then if they wanted. But no, they wanted him alive. And
Oh.
so he uses that to his advantage and is able to break out alongside Linda. Meanwhile, Jack is trying on some new outfits, and then the robot ladies he's with want to do something a bit more of an extreme makeover, don't they? They're getting their makeover tools ready, I suppose.
Yeah, with like
The
the big
chainsaw prepared.
shears and stuff, which I think that's a nice bit of parody, isn't it? Because it's just like these big cumbersome tools. Although
It's
so some,
terrifying imagery as a child.
yeah, it is. It's a bit like the Clockwork Droids with like their spindly like little blade thing and like syringes. They always creep me out.
Yeah. But I think it's made almost even worse by the very sterile white environment they're in.
Yeah, it's very clinical, isn't it?
Yeah, like Torchwood would have done some mad things with those two. That would have been absolutely terrifying stuff. But yeah, Jack obviously has a gun hidden away somewhere we don't want to know, and so he's able to blow the two robots up and then get himself a gun made out of the defabricator, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, repurposes that to something a bit more effective. The gun he used on the robots was a compact laser deluxe. So he's now out and free. Uses his life form scanner to find or life sign scanner. He uses his life sign scanner to find the Doctor, and then they are reunited. It's just Rose they have to find now. Meanwhile, up in like the control station, I suppose you'd call it.
Yeah.
Not like you've got these two employees who are watching them from afar, trying to work out what's going on here. They want to speak to the controller, but she says they're no one, ignore them. And so they finally reach the weakest link, where they find that Rose is, but she has lost the game. Broderick has won. He's tactically voted everyone else off because, Rose is stupid according to him. She doesn't know many of the answers, so he keeps her on so that he can win the last round, and successfully does so just as the Doctor and Jack get in. Rose is seemingly killed right in front of him, and that is a very well done moment. Just the Doctor's, collapse to the floor as he's going through her ashes. Well, just the way it cuts out as Jack's wailing away in the background. And I think that's the first time you hear the word bitch used in Doctor Who.
There's a bit of trivia.
There we go. First bit of, not quite swearing, but more extreme language use in Doctor Who, I suppose.
Yeah.
Because certainly Classic Who kept it very light on that front. Whereas now Doctor Who's ready to push the boundary a bit more, see what he could get away with. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that is the first time you've had more
It
extreme
definitely
language, I
is.
suppose,
Definitely
in
is.
Doctor Who. But yeah, it's hidden though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because in that moment, you're not really listening to what Jack's going on about. You're focusing on the Doctor, and like I say, it is sort of fading into the background by that point. But yeah, fun little frontier and space reference coming up because they are told they're off to the lunar penal colony.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, I mean, you wonder how much worse that must be now. Because
Oh
if,
yeah.
breaking out of these games where you're going to die causes you to get sent to the lunar penal colony, that must be a very bad place to be. Well, I suppose maybe they just decide to teleport them there, but instead they don't actually get to the lunar penal colony, they just end up with the Daleks. Maybe that's how it works.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. But, and throughout all this, the Doctor is very, somber, isn't he? Until finally he says, let's do it. And him and Jack break out men of action for a little bit. And then they're off to the top floor. Is it 500 or 5? Yeah, it's 500, isn't it?
Yeah, 500, yeah.
Yeah, they go up to floor 500 to the top to confront who's behind all this. And there, the Doctor confronts the controller, who was plugged into this machinery as a child and watches the data net, doesn't she, or something like that. She's in charge of all the broadcasts going on because
Yes.
it turns out Satellite 5 is not just broadcasting these game shows all over the planet. There's much more going on than that because it's also, broadcasting signals that are hiding something out in deep space. It's owned by the Bad Wolf Corporation as well, which the Doctor and Rose both see and remember hearing those words, seeing those words before throughout time, and realise there's something bigger going on here. So a solar flare comes along, cuts off communications. Earth gets a few repeats for a while, but now the controller is free. She's able to talk to the Doctor without being monitored, and she reveals that she was the one who brought him, Rose, and Jack there because she needed her help. She knows that her masters fear the Doctor, and so she gives him the baseline code of the transmissions, isn't it, or something like that, so that he can uncover what Satellite 5 is hiding. But she does so after the solar flare is over. Her masters know what's going on, and so they teleport her back to exterminate her. I wonder who it could be.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Also, Jack has worked out that the laser beam isn't actually a death ray. It is instead a teleportation beam. He shoots Linda because he knows that Rose won't like her, so he's getting her out of the way. To demonstrate to the Doctor that it is actually a teleportation beam, and Rose is still alive out there somewhere, but she is in the clutches of some old enemies. And so the Doctor blocks out what the satellite is hiding and finds a fleet of Daleks hidden away. And among them is Rose aboard the Dalek command ship. So they open a channel, and the Doctor gives that brilliant speech of,
yes.
Not even quite a speech, really, is it?
It's just...
It's a mini one.
Yeah. It's not quite a monologue.
No, it means no. Great stuff. And it's interesting, isn't it? Ending with a cliffhanger that's a triumphant one.
Yeah.
It's there's certainly a lot of
There's peril.
A lot of threat there. Yeah, there is. Rose is in the clutches of the Daleks. They're readying to go to war. They're ready to attack Satellite 5. But nevertheless, there's that glimmer of triumph because the Doctor's worked out that Rose is alive and he's promised he's coming to rescue her. And so he and Jack are off in the TARDIS now to go save Rose Tyler. And that's how we leave Bad Wolf.
So good.
Yeah, it really is. So do you want to take it away with Parting of the Ways?
Yes.
And then we'll give our thoughts on this two-parter.
So Parting of the Ways, we have the TARDIS flying towards the Dalek fleet, the big mothership, as we have Rose asked to predict the Doctor's move. The Daleks fire a load of projectiles, but we go back into the TARDIS, and we have the extrapolator shield from Boomtown creating a big shield force field because the TARDIS doesn't have any shields or whatever. So
it's
They are,
so nice the way so much of series one and a lot of Russell T Davies who connects little things like that, doesn't it?
yeah, it's
Like
really
even those
nice.
small episodes throughout the series come into play in some way at some later point.
Yeah, so we have the Doctor and Jack arrive on the Dalek ship to save Rose, which I have to say, I love the Dalek ship design in this.
It
Uh,
is something to marvel at, isn't it? It's
and the
simple. It's
yeah,
sort of cheap, but
that's Doctor
it's
Who.
hidden. Yeah, it's like a hidden cheapness, no, isn't it?
Yes,
It's it's more expensive. It's cheaper than it looks,
I
I
mean it's
suppose.
better
Yeah,
looking than Victory.
yeah, that's true. I mean, that wasn't even the set, was it? They went
No,
out and filmed
Cigar
that in.
Factory.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we are reunited with Rose is reunited with the our TARDIS crew, and we have a big
Safe
boom.
inside inside the TARDIS.
Yeah, so they go out to say hello to the Daleks. We have this big booming voice, which you could think, is it Davros? No, it is this rather deranged Dalek Emperor who is trying to become a god, who thinks he is a god. And
They
you,
survived through me.
I bet they did. And this is where we get a nice revelation. Well, I say nice revelation. It is very much revelation of the Daleks, but not feud. We have the humans being turned into Daleks, which is a real sort of horrifying thing because you get a glimpse of it in the mutant what's shot in the TARDIS, that Dalek shot in the TARDIS.
Yeah, he's like tender spaghetti, isn't he?
Yeah, which is kind of horrible.
Yeah.
Uh, it's a bit like a Tocklefane, isn't it? Sort of that deranged Dalek mutant in it.
The way it's described by the Dalek Emperor as well, like every human was filleted, pulped, sifted.
Yeah.
Like it brings out some gruesome imagery there.
Mm.
Like it's not a direct conversion as such, like say Revelation or
Yeah.
what's the other or just Cybermen in general, because I feel like sometimes with New Who particular they do cross over a bit too much, where
Yeah.
it's the idea, whereas this is instead they have mushed up some humans, sifted through the cells that remain, pick out one in a billion that might just about be Daleks, and then try and grow more from that,
Yeah.
which is, and then you have that reveal of they hate their own existence.
Making them the most deadliest Daleks out there.
Yeah,
Which we have a lovely moment of Eccleston by the door as they just blast, and I think that's such a really nice, quiet moment.
it's brilliant how it's preceded by him smiling, saying goodbye, isn't it?
Yeah,
And then as soon as he shuts the door, it's just everything he's fought so hard for, all those sacrifices made during the Time War,
so
are
nothing.
now meaningless.
So we return back to Satellite 5, where we have the Dalek ships on the move towards the actual station. And this is where the Doctor has the idea to build a Delta Wave, where he needs 3 days to build it.
A Delta Wave!
Oh, yes. But he only has like 3 minutes before the Daleks arrive, so it's very
Yeah, it's
much
not long.
all hands on deck to get everything on station. So we have Jack going down to floor 0 to recruit people to fight, and this is where we have a group of people going, well, the Daleks they don't exist, and we have a beautiful moment. Well, if you hear us screaming and dying, then you'll know that the Daleks are real, and I think that's a real cool moment in the story.
I mean, if it was the previous episode, wasn't it, where Jack says about the Daleks, they were once around but they disappeared
Yeah.
from across time and space, and it looks like they went off to fight a bigger war.
So we have people being recruited, which you don't have many people being recruited, and we have the Doctor having a brilliant idea of using Rose, thinking, "Oh, that'll be good," but sends Rose home, much to Rose's annoyance, as there is no way out. As we see the Daleks arrive and start beginning to massacre the people on Satellite 5, while we have the Doctor pretty much building the Delta Wave. A load of people die. We get the android, and we have Rose sulking in a chippy, trying to get back to the Doctor because it's happening right now. That battle,
Yeah.
which I think's great because it just makes you think like all the time is happening at once.
Yeah, that's brilliant stuff. And just the dialogue in there as well is wonderfully done. Like, you had that new pizza place that's open. What's it selling? Pizza.
You get
Rotisserie
that.
chicken in the background.
You get that, and then you have the lovely moment of like Rose convincing Jackie the power of the Doctor.
Yeah, it's very much contrasting like regular human life. It's going back to Rose, isn't it? The
Yes.
first episode, that whole idea of, you can just sit there, eat your beans on toast, and, live your life one day after the other, or you could do something more with it.
Yeah. So we have Mickey trying his little car, trying to get into the heart of the TARDIS. It doesn't work. And then we see that there are these words scattered in the park of Bad Wolf, and that spurs Rose on to break the TARDIS open with Jackie having a favour from, is it I don't know, is it Rodrigo or something?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Not Roderick.
No, not Rodrigo. That's a different. Where's my money?
Where's my truck? Is anyone listening? Where's my truck?
Oh, that's a horrifying death. So we get into the heart of the TARDIS, and Rose is returned, and she is the Bad Wolf. She scattered those words as a reminder to her to get to this point. She's slowly being eaten up as by the whole TARDIS energy, because nobody's meant to do that.
The energy of the vortex, isn't it?
Yeah. So we have yeah, go on.
It's that nice contrast with the fact that the Dalek Emperor earlier was going on about being a god, and now he's confronted by what essentially is a god.
Yeah, because you have a lovely moment between the Emperor and the Doctor, like, are you coward or killer? Because it's a nice little parallel. I don't know if it's intentional what Moffat did, but like him having his hands on the button.
Yeah, it
ready
comes back around to that, doesn't it? And it is very much that same decision of the time already, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. To kill all the humans and the Daleks with it, or... Yeah. But doesn't have to do that. Rose, Bad Wolf Girl, destroys the Daleks, and she needs a doctor. Good job there's a doctor around. And off they go. Eccleston has a cheeky kiss. Not with Linda with a Y. And
no.
Off he goes to regenerate to Barcelona and gets new teeth.
Yeah, left Jack behind. He got shot by the Daleks, but Rose brings life, and so he is now immortal. Not that we quite knew that at the time.
Yeah.
That reveal was done in Torchwood, wasn't it? Like episode 1. That's something. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have our first proper like face morph regeneration between 9 and 10.
I mean, face morphing's been done sort of with going back to the 10th planet, but not quite in that same way, is it?
I think this is the best version of it.
Yeah, it's just because of the technology available. They can actually transition those properly rather than just going to white and then back. Yeah. I think with Hartnell and Troughton, it sort of helped that their faces were kind of similar. Like they tried something there with that. But yeah, here, obviously technology has progressed a bit. And we now get sort of like the standard regeneration effect going forward, really.
Yeah.
Like it's been updated. Sometimes we get it in different colours, like with the Master in Utopia. But this is sort of like the standard way of it going forward now, which I'm not sure how I feel about.
I mean, I like that Jodie's wasn't in the TARDIS, and I mean, the TARDIS didn't get blown up in this.
Yeah, that's true. Like it just seemed like for this it was the energy of the heart of the TARDIS coming out of it.
Yeah, which works very nice.
Yeah, but then it just sort of becomes de facto regeneration effect after that, and it was sort of nice in a way how through Classic Who, regeneration always felt different.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, like it had those different effects. But it's just sort of the nature of television now, isn't it? Where everything has to be standardized in a sense.
Yeah.
Like, just for it to work in canon, I suppose. And I mean, even it's sort of been retroactively built back into the first Doctor's generation with David Bradley in Twice Upon a Time.
I mean, since we're speaking about the regeneration, what do you think of the regeneration scene?
It's so beautiful, isn't it?
It's the best regeneration scene, I'm going to say.
I think so.
Because there's a lovely optimism to it. It's not like, oh, why me? Why am I dying? It really much holds your hand, and that's what you needed. If this is your first regeneration, like, don't worry, you'll be fine. I think that's what makes it even more sad, because it's that he goes with a smile. I think that makes it a bit heartbreaking.
Yeah, and just the admission that he was fantastic too.
Yes,
that's how he goes.
But then you're like, oh, he's healed. Rose healed him.
Yeah, and I think that's it, really, isn't it? The fact that he gets to regenerate with Rose after the journey they've been on throughout Series 1.
The trip of a lifetime.
Yeah. And the fact that that's the end of his lifetime.
Yes.
Or Face's lifetime. Yeah. But it does a very good job of saying, this is still the same character who's going to be going forwards.
Yeah, does it nice. Nice joking way.
And it makes it all the more painful, doesn't it? The fact that it's hidden behind a smile.
Yes.
It definitely makes you well up a bit more. But yeah, I mean, the rest of the story, brilliant stuff as well throughout.
You can't really fault it. It's just, it doesn't relent. It's so clever. Oh, it's just beautiful.
The tension is constantly building throughout, really, isn't it? As the Daleks advance up the levels slowly, killing their way through people, and they are such an unstoppable force in this story.
They look so good.
They do. It's probably them looking their best.
Series 1 Bronze Daleks, they hit different.
Yeah. I think it's about the slightly cheaper quality of the visuals helps.
Yeah. It's quite grainy, actually, watching back. I was like, wow.
Yeah. It adds something to it, though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Nice charm. It hides some of the flaws, I suppose, in the...
Yeah.
Not that I'm saying it's a horrible set, because it isn't. It's very well done.
I think it can get away with the set of this.
Yeah.
Because it's a TV show within a TV show.
That's true.
You can get away with it, and I think these two stories combine probably two Colin stories, Adventures of Barros and Revelation with Daleks, and it makes them better.
Yeah, it's sort of taking those same concepts but refining them a lot more, isn't it? And actually having something clear to say, while also being able to have a bit more fun with them, because Vengeance of Barros is very loose with the analogy, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I will say Vengeance does the whole telly thing better because you actually see the audience responding to it.
Yeah, that's true. That would have been an interesting touch. A Gogglebox version of Bad Wolf.
Yeah, I think that would be quite nice to have seen. But then again, I think this story's already quite tight already.
I think if you were doing that, you'd have to have it be the whole story rather than it just be Bad Wolf.
Yeah.
Because then I feel like something like that would feel weirdly absent from Parting of the Ways, but also would feel very superfluous. Unless you have a family watching it in Bad Wolf and then that family get exterminated by the Daleks in Parting of the Ways, maybe.
Or you have maybe Rose or Jack or the Doctor be there watching it. I don't know.
Yeah, but you sort of need them all within the game.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. But certainly I think it's made almost more horrific, whereas Varos is very much, on the nose with what's going on. It is a torture show. This is torture hidden behind a smile, almost, isn't it? It's done in the name of entertainment. It's done in this similar environment that we know of, but it's much more sinister.
Yeah.
The fact that it is a charnel house, as he says.
Yeah, it is.
It's something horrific about that. But yeah, I feel like I prefer Bad Wolf, and I feel like that's a controversial opinion. I
right.
think most people prefer Parting of the Ways, but I do enjoy Bad Wolf just that little bit more, maybe for that game show side of it.
I think it's allowed to have fun, Bad Wolf.
Yeah, and I think it's an unusual amount of tension you get from scenes like that.
Yeah. Because it's very much enjoying the world, what's being set up. Even though the world's been set up, a couple episodes before.
Yeah, well, in some ways, but this is 100 years on, so
Yeah.
it's a slightly different world now that we're getting to see. But yeah, I really do have a soft spot for Bad Wolf. I think what lets Part of the Ways down is that Deus Ex Machina of an ending. And I don't know how else it could have been done without redoing the entire story. But it does feel maybe a little bit too easy. And it's certainly the best of Russell T Davis's Deus Ex Machinas.
Yes.
Or I think
yes,
Davis
sure.
Ex Machinas, they've sort of
Yeah.
those,
yes.
haven't they?
Yeah.
But I mean, it is something that has continued to plague his finales as they go on, as he tries to up himself and raise the stakes, and then he's always written into a corner, isn't he? And he has to find some way out of that always is going to feel slightly contrived. On the most part, he has the best finales of New Who still.
Yeah, maybe. Because I really like Pandorica Opens and like Doctor Falls and stuff like that.
Yeah, those two I do really like. But other than that, I don't think there's much that competes with the Russell T Davies finales.
Yeah, I don't think any Chibnall comes close.
No, and I don't think anything series 6 to 9 of Moffat does either. Yeah, certainly this story, I think it's the best of his finales easily, and one of the best finales of the new series, if not the best.
And probably one of my favourite definitely top 3 cliffhangers of all time.
I think the fact that it does something so different, like we said, of it being more hopeful and exciting, I think adds to that, makes it more special. And just the scale of the Dalek threat in this, it's very well portrayed. Like we say earlier, the fact that you had Dalek before this to build up the threat of one individual Dalek, and now suddenly you're faced with millions of them.
I think as well how it's subtly hinting at the Daleks throughout the story. Like, you probably know that the Daleks were going to be in it.
Yeah.
But the way it slowly reveals them, like, you have, like, the Dalek heartbeat. You have, like, the controller, like being a reference to Day of the Daleks. And you get, like, the odd glimpse of, like, the dome light and stuff like that. Of, like, their eye stalk, It's really nice.
Like, in that distorted reflection.
Yeah. It very much feels like classic Bob Holmes, how to reveal your monster at the end of part 1.
But almost done on steroids, isn't it?
Really, yes.
But it's taken it to the next extreme and really racking out every last bit of tension it can for that reveal. Yeah, and I mean, you're just getting so excited when the controllers talk about my masters, they fear the Doctor, and like, you know who they are. You're watching this for the 50th time. You know what's coming.
But you still get a buzz.
You still get that buzz off it, don't you?
Yeah.
Which is wonderful stuff. I mean, anything else to say about Bad Wolf Parting of the Ways?
Fantastic.
Absolutely fantastic.
It still makes me tear up. Like, you get goosebumps.
Not just the ending as well.
No.
There's quite a few moments throughout.
It just resonates with me so hard, this two-parter.
That hard-hitting death of Linda with a Y as well.
Yeah, because you don't even hear the exterminate, and it's just there.
Yeah.
It's
horrific.
So good.
And, that's what the final push of the Doctor to carry on with the Delta Wave, isn't it? As he hears that over the intercom.
Like, the Daleks don't even need to kill those people. They're just
when they're going down to the lower level.
Yeah, they could have gone straight to floor 500, but I think that just shows the nature of a Dalek.
Yeah, the fact that they hate every living thing and are just there to kill them all. And I think that thing of from a distance as well, how Earth's becoming unrecognisable because of the Dalek bombardment.
Mm.
And that wonderful line from the Emperor, purify the earth with fire.
It'll become my new temple.
Yeah. That's
Brilliant stuff.
brilliant. Uh, I can't wait to get this style of writing back as well. I like this style of Dalek as well.
Yes.
Dalek. So good. Yeah, that's all to look forward to in the future. But for now, we've got our heads in the past, haven't we? So
Yes.
out of 10, what are you going to give it?
Oh, no brainer. It's a 10.
I think I'll have to go 10 as well.
Good
I think
man.
9.5 is cheating. I'll go 10.
It gets a 0.5 for nostalgia.
Yeah, there we go. That's where the extra bit comes from. That's
Yeah.
what pushes it over the finishing line.
It deserves it as well.
It does. It truly does.
It deserves it.
Yeah. I mean, what did we give? Did we give Caves of Androzani a 10 as well? Or did we give that a 9?
I don't know if it was 9 or 10. Yeah.
Yeah, it was certainly quite high. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is one of the highlights of this list, and this highlight of our watching back through it all.
Yeah, it's one I was looking forward to going back to, even though I've seen it countless times. I just never get bored of it. Like, I feel like this is a desert island story for me.
I feel like we're in very good territory right now as well.
Yes.
Like we got Christmas Invasion coming up tomorrow. End of time after that. I think that's a bit more controversial for some people, but well, you'll see when we get round to that day after tomorrow. And then 11th hour as well. Chef's kiss.
Very good.
Yeah, we're eating good for the next few days.
Yeah. We're having a Christmas feast.
And I mean, speaking of Christmas, because it's our first Christmas special tomorrow.
Yeah.
Christmas Invasion. It's funny that we haven't really had much Christmassy before this. I suppose the only thing that comes close is 10th Planet with the snowy setting and one little reference from Ben to Father Christmas on his sleigh.
Yeah.
Yeah, here we go. We've now getting into some Christmassy stuff, and it works out quite nicely that this comes towards the tail end as people are settling in, getting ready for the big day itself now. So, join us tomorrow for Christmas Invasion.
And a little bonus of Born Again. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, little Children Needs mini episode, which Children Need is happening not long after we record this, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much the next day after, yeah.
Yeah. Been and gone by the time this comes out, but yeah, there's your little
trivia where we're at.
Yeah, in terms of recording.
There we go. Yes, thank
we'll
everyone
see you tomorrow
for joining us. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. If you've not catched up on this series, don't worry. There's another 15 days to enjoy, and we'll see you tomorrow for Born Again and the Christmas Invasion. Bye-bye, everyone.
Take care.